So if I were to say that credit cards were the worst financial product widely available to most people, would you agree with me? Or if I were to say that credit cards were one of the best financial products available to most people, would you agree with me? The answer, I think, is somewhere in the middle, and it depends on one factor: you. Credit cards are just like money. They are a magnifier of what you already are. If you're someone who is good with money, then you're likely going to benefit from a credit card. But if you are someone who is making poor financial decisions, then a credit card is probably the worst thing that you can do for your finances. But how do you determine where you fall on that spectrum? Well, today we're going to talk about that. So here are some reasons that you probably need a credit card and why you shouldn't have one. But first, a story. When I was slightly younger and purchasing my first house, I thought because I had done well with my finances and I had never borrowed money at all, never had a credit card, I had never taken out a loan, that I was going to be rewarded by our financial system for my good stewardship. But nothing could have been farther from the truth. When my wife and I bought our first home, she actually had to apply for the mortgage because I didn't have a credit score. I didn't have any kind of credit history, and like it or not, that's the kind of world that we live in, and that's part of the system. Now, I do know you can apply for a mortgage without a credit score, but it's not as easy as you might think. So what happened? Well, we got the home and we got the loan, but it wasn't in my name, and I ended up getting a secured credit card. But more on that later. At the time, I was a huge fan of Dave Ramsey, and while I still fundamentally agree with most of what he teaches, a difference of views began to appear and has widened a little bit over the last several years. Depending on who you listen to, credit cards are like literally the devil, or they are something that you can use to benefit your finances. The goal of this channel has always been to simplify personal finance, and there are so many voices talking about this, and I really want to take something that is complicated and simplify it. I'm not going to give you a simple yes or no, but by the end of this video, I think you'll have a clear path forward. First, I will make the argument for credit cards, why they can be beneficial, and then we'll talk about some of the problems and downsides. But I really can't do that without first saying this is something that statistically most Americans get wrong. And wait till the end if you want to hear us talk about that. Okay, so the first thing, and I've already alluded to it, a credit card used responsibly will help build your credit score. Like it or not, this is the system of our economy, and we judge how likely someone is able to pay a loan back by how well they have done it in the past. And if you are wanting to purchase any kind of asset to build wealth, such as a home, and you're going to do that with debt, such as having a mortgage, you need a credit score. The better of a credit score you have, the better rate you will get. In my view, there are no downsides to having a good credit score, only upsides. But you can purchase a home and get by without a credit score. It's just harder. Yes, it can be done. It is harder. You're not going to get as good of a rate, and I know because I have tried before. Now, of course, that may be specific to my situation, and your mileage may vary, but I can only share with you what my experience has been. So that being said, I've never known someone who had a good credit score run into some of the issues I ran into of having no credit score. So the second benefit is fraud protection. And while Visa and MasterCard and some of the big banks that you may bank with have done a great deal to ensure there are some kind of fraud protections on your bank account and the debit cards that you're using, at the end of the day, the money that is inside of your bank account, once it is charged, that is your money coming out. A credit card acts as an intermediary. When you charge money on your credit card, it doesn't automatically come out of your bank account. It's someone else's money, and you have that much more of a buffer between you and your actual finances. I've had to deal with fraudulent charges on both my debit card and my credit card, and while both processes were similar, I felt a little bit more peace of mind with the credit card knowing that none of my money was actually touched. And the third benefit that can come from using a credit card responsibly is the rewards. These are becoming more and more popular, and I kind of love them, okay? You can earn some cash back with every purchase that you make. Now, I will say, there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, because psychologically, I've even caught myself thinking that if I spend more money on my card, I'm going to get back higher rewards. And the bottom line is an extra $1,000 you weren't going to spend isn't worth 5% cash back. But if you are overall healthy, you have a budget, you have barriers and limits to your spending, I think that it is a benefit. Okay, so now the case against credit cards. Most people are doing this wrong. Just statistically speaking, most Americans are doing this wrong. There is no way to get ahead financially when you are paying 20% interest on a maxed out credit card. Your investments are not going to make 20% more than likely. And if you have $5, $10, $20,000 in credit card debt, regardless of the interest rate, that is working against you. And that is going to be more of a drag on your finances than probably anything else. Now, we can talk about who's at fault for that, but at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own financial decisions. And that means the ones that you are currently making and the ones that you've made in the past. So, you might have to deal with a lot of credit card debt. And if that's where you are, you've got to stop with the credit cards. I personally have several credit cards and I've never paid a cent in interest. And I don't say that as a proud thing. I say that as I am scared, like terrified of credit card debt. And I think you should be too. At the end of the day, debt is a tool. And I know there are some people who would argue with me about that, but it is a financial tool. You can choose whether or not you're going to use it. You can choose how well or how poorly you're going to use it, but it's a financial tool. And not all debt is created equal. And while I can understand maybe a mortgage or a car loan in certain instances, there's no way to make sense of paying 20, 23, 25% interest on your everyday purchases. There's no way to get ahead when you're digging yourself into a hole that fast. I think a lot of people do poorly with credit cards really because of a lack of education and understanding. A lot of people sign up when they're young and they don't understand exactly what they're getting themselves into. They think it's free money, they max out the card, and then this card that they got when they were 18 years old follows them into their 30s or 40s. You're doing it wrong if you're going about it that way. Any benefit that a credit card has is immediately wiped out the moment you carry a balance and start paying interest. And I don't care if you're getting 5% cash back on your card. If you're paying 20% interest, you're not going to come out ahead. If I seem fired up about it, it is because I am. I've seen far too many people who have gone so far into credit card debt that it absolutely caps their ability to make other good financial decisions. So here's what I'm going to say. If you are in credit card debt right now, that's a problem. You have got to get out of credit card debt because you're not going to be able to breathe until you get that off your back. And the second thing, if you use credit cards casually, maybe you carried a balance in the past, I want you to understand that this tool is dangerous if it's not used well. You would never hand a child a chainsaw because something that can be used constructively can also be used destructively in the hands of someone who doesn't know what they're doing. And it's the same with these kinds of financial products. You want to know what you're doing and be intentional about your finances before you ever try to use one. So if you're in credit card debt right now, here's your answer. Get out as fast as you can, because you're not going to build wealth by taking steps backwards. So what should you do? Well, here's a rule of thumb. If you're someone who has a poor credit score, you're in a lot of debt already, and you don't trust yourself to use a credit card responsibly, then all of those benefits that come from a credit card really are useless to you. If you want to build your credit score, maybe start by continuing to pay on your loans consistently and get out of the hole that you've dug. In fact, a good credit score might not help you if you already are making bad decisions. If you're someone who is very good with your finances, then I would say go ahead and take advantage of the credit cards, but be super intentional about how you're spending your money. And if you're someone who's somewhere in between, kind of on the fence about it, I would offer an alternative solution. Get a secured credit card. What a secured credit card is basically you apply for a credit card and you will give the bank $100, $200, $600 that you're paying them in advance. And that becomes your credit limit. So you can only spend up to whatever amount you have given them, and you've already paid the money in advance. It's a great way for you to introduce yourself to credit cards in a very safe manner. Now, make no mistake, if you don't pay the full balance off every single month, you're going to charge yourself interest. But here's what I would suggest. If you're new to this world, get yourself a good secured credit card and charge some monthly subscription that you are already paying. Turn it on auto pay, check in every single month, but other than that, forget about it. Throw it in the drawer and see how it goes as you continue to flex this muscle and build better financial habits in other areas. You can work yourself up to a good rewards card that you use for general purchases, but only if you commit not to going into any kind of credit card debt. So I hope that clears it up for you. I know there's a lot of noise around this subject, and the truth of the matter is you don't need to listen to anyone but yourself. The truth is, you know yourself better than I know you or any other financial guru. And if you can be honest with yourself, I don't think there's a wrong call to make here. Just make sure that whatever you're doing is putting your best foot forward to build the financial future that you want. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you'd like more content like this, please like this video. Maybe share it with a friend who you know would benefit from it. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you for coming.